Let me ask you a simple question. What if the biggest mistake you ever made was actually the greatest gift life ever gave you? We live in a world that celebrates success, achievement, glory, victory, wealth. Open any social media platform or turn on the news, and you'll be flooded with success stories, billion-dollar entrepreneurs, Olympic gold medalists, best-selling authors, and innovative creators. We applaud their victories, we envy their lives, and we dream of reaching similar heights. But here's what most people forget to mention. Behind every success story lies a trail of failure. Today, I'm here to remind you that failure is not something to be ashamed of. It is something to be embraced. In fact, failure is not just a part of the journey to success. It is the first and most crucial step toward it. Let that sink in for a moment. Failure is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It's your guide. It's your foundation. Why do we fear failure so much? From a young age, we are taught to equate failure with shame. A failed test, a lost game, or a rejected idea can lead to ridicule, embarrassment, or disappointment. Society often conditions us to believe that if we fail, we're not good enough, that we're not smart enough, that we're not worthy. But the truth is, failure is a natural, necessary part of growth. It is through failure that we evolve, stretch our limits, and develop the resilience needed to overcome life's toughest challenges. When you avoid failure at all costs, you also avoid risk, growth, and opportunity. You play it safe. You stay comfortable. But comfort never leads to greatness. Let's talk about some of the greatest names in history, people we now associate with unmatched success. Almost every one of them failed spectacularly before finding their path. Albert Einstein, one of the most brilliant minds of all time, didn't speak fluently until he was 9. He was expelled from school and rejected from university. Today, his name is synonymous with genius. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job because he lacked imagination. His first company went bankrupt. Now, his creations live in the hearts of millions across generations. Steve Jobs was fired from the company he founded, Apple. But he didn't quit. He returned years later to lead Apple into a new era of innovation. Oprah Winfrey was told she was unfit for television. She was publicly humiliated, faced discrimination and trauma, and yet she built a media empire and became one of the most influential women in the world. What do all of these people have in common? They failed, and then they rose. They didn't let failure define them. They let failure refine them. Failure is feedback. It's information. It tells you what doesn't work so you can find what does. Failure is proof that you tried something hard, that you stepped out of your comfort zone, that you dared to dream and had the courage to act. Think of failure like falling while learning how to ride a bicycle. No one masters balance without first losing it. Those falls are not signs that you'll never learn. They are essential steps to becoming better. If we reframe failure not as the end, but as the beginning of mastery, we empower ourselves to keep pushing forward. Take a deep breath. Let's begin the journey together into the success.
Let me tell you one story. The air in Sarah's tiny apartment hummed with the ghosts of failed ventures. Crumpled business plans littered her desk like fallen leaves, each one a testament to a dream that had withered before it could bloom. Her revolutionary, eco-friendly cleaning product, ignored by retailers. Her innovative app for local artisans, downloaded by 3 people, 2 of whom were her aunts. At 30, Sarah felt less like an entrepreneur and more like a professional failure. Friends whispered about her passion projects with a kind of gentle pity that stung more than outright criticism. One particularly bleak Tuesday, after yet another rejection email, Sarah stared at her reflection. Bags under her eyes, a permanent crease in her brow, this wasn't the vibrant, ambitious woman she'd once imagined. She was tired, defeated. She considered giving up, getting a real job, something stable and soul-crushing. But a tiny, stubborn ember still glowed within her. It wasn't the fire of grand ambition anymore, it was the quiet flicker of curiosity. She started dissecting her failures, not with self-pity, but with scientific detachment. Why had the cleaning product failed? She hadn't understood the distribution channels. Why the app? She'd built it for herself, not for the actual users. She realized her biggest mistake wasn't a lack of effort, but a lack of understanding. She'd been so focused on her ideas that she'd forgotten to listen to the market, to the customers, to the world outside her own head. This realization wasn't a sudden epiphany, but a slow dawning. She began taking online courses, not in business strategy this time, but in market research and user experience. She spent hours in cafes, observing people, listening to conversations, understanding their frustrations. She volunteered at a local community center, helping small businesses, not for money, but for the sheer experience of seeing how they operated. Then, a new idea sparked. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't a world-changing invention. It was a simple, elegant solution to a common problem she'd observed: people struggling to find reliable, affordable childcare in their neighborhoods. Drawing on her newfound understanding of user needs and market gaps, she developed a platform connecting parents with vetted local caregivers. The initial launch was small, funded by the last of her savings. This time, she didn't just build it, she iterated relentlessly, incorporating every piece of feedback, no matter how small. She cold-called parents, hosted community meetings, and even offered free trial periods. It was exhausting, but different from her previous failures. This time, she wasn't just working hard, she was working smart, guided by genuine insights. Slowly, steadily, her platform gained traction. Word of mouth spread. Parents raved about the ease and reliability. Caregivers appreciated the fair compensation and flexible hours. Sarah, the queen of failed ventures, was finally building something that worked. Her success wasn't a sudden explosion, but a quiet, persistent climb, built on the solid foundation of every single mistake she'd ever made. She learned that failure wasn't the opposite of success, it was, in fact, its most rigorous, often brutal, teacher. Let's look at what science has to say. Psychologist Carol Dweck coined the term, growth mindset, the belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and effort. According to Dweck's research, people with a growth mindset view challenges and failures as opportunities to grow, not as threats to their self-worth. In contrast, those with a fixed mindset believe that their talents are static. When they fail, they see it as confirmation that they're not good enough, and they give up. But here's the truth: the brain is plastic. That means it can change and adapt. When you fail and try again, your brain literally rewires itself to become stronger, faster, and more capable. That's the power of persistence. Let me ask you, who would you trust more? A leader who has never faced adversity, or one who has battled failure, been knocked down, and still stood back up? Failure teaches humility. It crushes ego. It builds empathy and compassion. It reveals who we really are when things don't go our way. In those moments when we feel defeated, we also discover our deepest strengths, our ability to endure, to adapt, and to rise. That unstoppable force that pushes us to keep going long after motivation has faded. Now I am going to tell you one story of bamboo tree. There's an old Chinese story about the bamboo tree. When you plant a bamboo seed, nothing happens for the first year, or the second, or even the third. For 5 years, there is no visible growth. You water it, nurture it, and still see nothing. But then, suddenly in the 5th year, the bamboo tree shoots up 80 feet in just 6 weeks. Did the bamboo grow in 6 weeks? No, it grew in those 5 years of unseen development. It was building roots. It was preparing for greatness. Your failures are like those hidden years. They may not show immediate results, but they are building the foundation for your rise. Why most people quit too soon? Most people give up just before their breakthrough. They stop trying after one rejection, one failure, one disappointment. But you must remember, the moment you feel like quitting is often the moment right before the miracle happens. The road to success is not meant to be easy. If it were, everyone would do it. What sets the successful apart is not talent or luck, it's the courage to keep going when others stop. Let me speak directly to those of you who feel defeated. Maybe you've failed at something important. Maybe you've faced rejection, loss, heartbreak, or disappointment. And maybe, just maybe, you're thinking about giving up. Don't. Because your story isn't over. This is not your ending, it's your beginning. One day, you will look back at this moment, not as the time you failed, but as the moment you chose to rise. Every great success story includes a chapter called rock bottom, but it's what you do next that determines how your story ends. So, how can you start embracing failure instead of fearing it? 1. Redefine it. Instead of saying, I failed, say, I learned. Change your language and your mindset. 2. Reflect on it. Every failure has a lesson. Ask yourself, what did I do wrong? What can I do differently? How can I grow? 3. Stay persistent. Greatness is not built in comfort. Keep moving, one step at a time. 4. Surround yourself with resilience. Hang around people who lift you up, not those who judge or criticize. 5. Celebrate small wins. Every attempt, every try, every step forward is a victory over fear. Failure is an inevitable part of life. It can come in many forms, from small, everyday setbacks to large-scale disappointments that shape our lives in profound ways. Failure can be hard to overcome because it can feel like a personal judgment and make us question our abilities or worth. It can sap our confidence and make us doubt our decisions and choices. At the same time, failure can be a great teacher that helps us grow and learn from our mistakes. While it's painful to experience failure, ultimately it gives us an opportunity for self-reflection, self-improvement, and resilience in the face of adversity. We must be willing to accept failure as part of life and use it as an opportunity for growth and development. By doing so, we can gain valuable insight into ourselves while recognizing the success that will come with future attempts at overcoming obstacles. Failure is not a measure of your worth as an individual. Failure is something that everyone experiences throughout their lives. It can be daunting and difficult to overcome, as it can often lead to feelings of shame, helplessness, and low self-esteem. It is important to recognize that failure is not a sign of personal inadequacy or incompetence. Rather, it is an essential part of the learning process and should be seen as an opportunity for growth and development. Failure teaches us to think more critically about our decisions and provides us with valuable lessons on how we can improve ourselves. Furthermore, failure allows us to understand our limitations in order to better plan for the future. Despite its challenges, failure can also provide motivation when we see how far we have come since our last setback. Finally, failure inspires resilience by showing us that no matter how many times you fail at something, as long as you keep trying, you will eventually get it right. Determine if your why is larger than the failure. When determining whether your why is bigger than any failure, it is important to remember that the motivation behind your goals must be greater than any obstacles that may arise. Focusing on the end result, and staying steadfast in the face of adversity is key to not only achieving success but growing through it. Keeping an optimistic outlook and believing that you can accomplish whatever you set out to do will allow you to remain focused on the ultimate goal and ignore any failures or setbacks along the way. The importance of having a strong why cannot be overstated. If your purpose for doing something outweighs the fear of failing, then you will ultimately be successful in what you set out to do. Rise above with integrity. When we're wronged, it's easy to respond with anger and hurt feelings. But if instead of lashing out in bitterness, we channel our emotions into self-reflection, seeking the lesson from failure rather than revenge, then true growth is possible. Handling failure with integrity allows you to rise above it by setting an example of resilience, which can help provide motivation and inspiration to others. Not only will this demonstrate your determination and perseverance, but it will also show that you are capable of making thoughtful decisions even in the face of adversity. Taking responsibility for your actions and admitting when you have made a mistake not only helps build trust between yourself and those around you, but it also shows that you have the self-awareness necessary to learn from your mistakes and further improve yourself as a person. This can ultimately be beneficial for both personal growth and professional advancement. By bearing the burden of failure with courage and grace, you can demonstrate to yourself and others that failure is not something to be feared or shamed, but rather viewed as an opportunity for growth, particularly since embracing the challenges presented by failure can help sharpen critical thinking skills, develop problem-solving strategies, and foster a more constructive approach to life's inevitable missteps. Most importantly, failure is an opportunity to learn and grow from the experience, so that you can reach success in the future. It's important to remember that even if something doesn't turn out the way you expected, it doesn't invalidate the effort and hard work you put into it. Failing at something should not be seen as a sign of personal inadequacy but rather as a chance to gain new insight into yourself and what you are capable of achieving. Failure should be our teacher, not our undertaker. Failure is delay, not defeat. It is a temporary detour, not a dead end. Failure is something we can avoid only by saying nothing, doing nothing, and being nothing. It is impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case, you fail by default. Your progress might not be visible at once, but you are perfecting your skills in how to get it done. Thomas Edison reminds us to never give up but to keep trying. He's often known to have said, "I have not failed 10,000 times, I've successfully found 10,000 ways that will not work." Bill Gates' first idea failed. But he went on to find new opportunities, and a few years later, created the Microsoft product, and forged a new path to success. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first job, yet she is now a media mogul. This is what she says about failure. Do the one thing you think you cannot do. Fail at it, try again, do better the second time. The only people who never tumble are those who never mount the high wire. This is your moment, own it. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team yet became a successful professional athlete. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job for lack of creativity yet became one of the creative geniuses of the 20th century. Let me end with this. You are capable of extraordinary things. But only if you are willing to face failure and keep going. Every great dream requires struggle. Every goal requires sacrifice. Every hero was once a beginner who failed more times than most people even tried. So don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid of not trying. Be afraid of living a life so safe that you never get the chance to rise. Because the truth is, you will fail. But you will also rise, grow, learn, and one day, you will succeed in ways you never imagined. Remember this. Failure is not falling down. It's staying down. So get back up. Wipe the dust off. Take a deep breath. And take that next step toward your greatness. If this message inspired you, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more powerful motivation. Thank you.